I'm standing in my walk-in closet, surrounded by $800,000 worth of clothes, shoes, and handbags I've never worn, with an eviction notice in my hand and $47 in my bank account. Half of these items still have the tags on. I'm about to lose everything, and I still can't stop shopping. This is the story of how I became a shopping addict, how I lost everything, and how I'm fighting my way back. Before I tell you the whole story, make sure you subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. This is one of the hardest things I've ever shared, and it took me months to work up the courage to talk about this publicly. My name is Jessica. I'm 34 years old, and I live in Chicago, Illinois. 3 years ago, I was a successful marketing executive making $180,000 a year. I had a beautiful 4-bedroom home in Naperville, a loving husband named Michael, 2 cars, and what everyone thought was a perfect life. I was the friend everyone envied, the daughter my parents bragged about, the success story. I never imagined I'd become a shopping addict who would destroy everything I loved. I never thought I'd steal from my own company. I never thought I'd lose my marriage, my home, my career, and nearly my life because I couldn't stop buying things I didn't need. But to understand how I got there, you need to understand where I came from. I grew up in a working-class neighborhood on the south side of Chicago. My dad worked in manufacturing, and my mom was a secretary. We weren't poor, but we weren't comfortable either. Money was always tight, and my parents fought about it constantly. I remember being 12 years old, sitting at the top of the stairs in my pajamas, listening to my parents scream at each other in the kitchen. "We can't afford this, Tom. We can't afford any of this. What do you want me to do, Linda?" I got laid off. It's not my fault. My dad lost his job at the plant in 2003, right before Christmas. We went from barely comfortable to really struggling overnight. I watched my mom cry over bills at the kitchen table. I watched her cut coupons for hours, calculating every penny. I wore hand-me-downs from my cousin. I heard we can't afford that 1,000 times. The worst part wasn't the lack of money. It was a shame. The feeling of being less than everyone else. Of being a poor kid. Of watching other girls at school get new clothes and feeling like I didn't matter because my jeans came from Goodwill. I promised myself that when I grew up, I'd never feel that way again. I'd have money. I'd buy whatever I wanted. I'd never have to say, "I can't afford that." I worked my ass off. I got a full scholarship to the University of Illinois. I majored in marketing and communications. I graduated summa cum laude. I got a job at a marketing agency in Chicago, making $48,000 right out of college. I was 22 years old and so proud. I saved every penny. I lived with 3 roommates in a tiny apartment. I brought lunch from home. I shopped at Target and bought things on clearance. I was responsible. I was smart with money. I met Michael when I was 25. He was a high school teacher, kind and stable and everything I wanted. We dated for 2 years, got married when I was 27. Small wedding, nothing fancy, but it was perfect. By the time I was 30, I was making $95,000 as a marketing manager. We bought our first house, a modest 3-bedroom in the suburbs for $280,000. We had a plan. Save for a few years, then start a family. Everything was going according to plan. Everything was perfect. And then I got promoted. It was January 2022. I was 32 years old. My boss called me into her office and told me I was being promoted to senior marketing director. My salary jumped from $95,000 to $180,000. Nearly double. I remember calling Michael from my car, screaming with joy. I remember feeling like I'd finally made it. Like all those years of being the poor kid were finally over. I was successful. I mattered. That weekend, I went shopping to celebrate. I walked into Nordstrom on Michigan Avenue, and I felt different. I wasn't the girl in the Goodwill jeans anymore. I was someone who belonged in these stores. I tried on a Burberry trench coat. It was $3,200. The old Jessica would have put it back immediately. But the new Jessica, the senior marketing director making $180,000, she bought it. When I swiped my credit card and the transaction went through, something happened in my brain. A rush. A high. A feeling of power and validation I'd never experienced before. The saleswoman smiled at me differently. She said, "Excellent choice, Miss Chin. You look absolutely stunning." I looked at myself in that coat, and I felt like I was someone important. Someone who mattered. Someone who'd overcome her past. I wore that coat twice, but I chased that feeling for the next 3 years. At first, it was controlled. I'd buy something nice once a month. A designer handbag here, a pair of expensive shoes there. I could afford it, I reasoned. I was making good money. I deserved nice things after growing up with nothing. Michael noticed, but he wasn't concerned. "You work hard, Jess. You should treat yourself." But treating myself started happening more frequently. Once a month became twice a month. Then every week. Then multiple times a week. I started taking long lunch breaks to go shopping. I'd walk into Saks Fifth Avenue or Neiman Marcus and just browse. Except browsing always turned into buying. A $600 cashmere sweater. A $1,500 pair of Louboutin heels. A $4,000 Gucci handbag. Every purchase gave me that same rush. That validation. That feeling of being someone important. It was like a drug. Within 6 months of my promotion, I was shopping during my lunch break every single day. I'd spend $2,000, $3,000, sometimes $5,000 in one afternoon and not even think about it. I'd get back to the office with shopping bags, hide them under my desk, and transfer them to my car after everyone left. Then I'd get home and panic. What had I done? How would I explain this to Michael? So I started hiding the purchases. I'd have things delivered to my office instead of our house. I'd cut off the tags immediately and hang things in my closet among the hundreds of other items, hoping Michael wouldn't notice another new dress. I started lying. Constantly. "Is that new?" Michael would ask, pointing at a dress. "This old thing? I've had it forever. I think I bought it at Marshall's like 2 years ago." I'd say, my heart racing. The dress cost $1,800, and I bought it that afternoon. I don't remember seeing it before. "You don't pay attention to my clothes, babe. I've definitely worn this before." The lies came so easily. Too easily. I maxed out my first credit card in 3 months. It had a $15,000 limit, and I hit it without even trying. So I opened another card. Then another. I told myself I'd pay them off once I got my annual bonus. But when my bonus came, $30,000 after taxes, I spent $35,000 that same week. I remember that week so clearly. It was March 2023. I got my bonus on a Friday. By Monday, I'd bought a $12,000 Chanel Classic flap bag, $4,500 worth of shoes from Bergdorf Goodman, $8,000 in clothes from various designers, a $6,000 Louis Vuitton luggage set, $4,800 in makeup and skincare from Saks. I justified every purchase. The Chanel bag was an investment. They hold their value. The shoes were for work. The clothes were necessary for my position. The luggage was for business trips. The skincare was self-care. All of it was bullshit. All of it was feeding my addiction. By the time I was 1 year into my promotion, I had 11 credit cards and I was $200,000 in debt. $200,000. I couldn't believe it myself. How had I spent $200,000 in 1 year? Where did it all go? I looked around my closet, and I could see it. Thousands of dollars hanging on racks. Shoes stacked in boxes. Handbags lined up on shelves. Most of it I'd never worn. Most of it still had tags. But I couldn't stop. The debt terrified me, but the thought of not shopping terrified me more. I started shopping at night when Michael was asleep. I'd wait until I heard him snoring. Then I'd creep downstairs with my laptop and shop online until 3 or 4 a.m. Online shopping made everything worse because it was so easy. Click, click, click. Add to cart. Purchase. Enter credit card number. Confirm. The rush was instant, but it faded so quickly. Within minutes, I'd need another hit, so I'd buy something else. I'd order 6 of the same dress in different colors. I'd buy $5,000 worth of designer jeans in one sitting. 10 pairs, all different brands, all the same basic style. I'd purchase entire outfits I'd never wear, just to feel that high. Packages arrived at our house every single day. Sometimes multiple deliveries a day. The UPS driver knew me by name. "Big day today, Mrs. Chun. For packages. Just some things for work," I'd say, my hands shaking as I rushed them inside. Michael started noticing. How could he not? Jess, what's in all these boxes? There's literally a pile by the door every single day. Oh, just some work stuff. Samples for a campaign I'm working on. I'll take them to the office tomorrow. More lies. The lies were becoming as addictive as the shopping. I opened a P.O. box so packages could be delivered there instead of our house. I had things shipped to my assistant at work. I had a whole system. I'd pick up packages from the P.O. box during lunch, hide them in my car, then sneak them into the house when Michael was at work or transfer them to one of the 3 storage units I'd rented. Yes, 3 storage units. Each one costs $200 a month. Each one filled with shopping bags and boxes of things I'd bought and never used. I was spending roughly $20,000 a month. My take-home pay was about $9,500 a month. The math didn't work. It couldn't work. But I made it work by opening new credit cards constantly. I had a system. I'd open a new card with a 0% introductory APR, transfer balances from old cards, use the new card to shop, and pay the minimums on all of them. I was juggling debt like a circus performer, and I thought I was being clever. I wasn't clever. I was sick. Michael found a credit card statement in my car one day. It had fallen out of my purse. He picked it up, looked at it, and his face went white. Jessica, what the hell is this? It was a statement for one of my cards. The balance was $47,000. It's not what you think. It says you owe $47,000 on one credit card, Jess. What am I supposed to think? I can explain. It's for work. I get reimbursed. Bullshit. Show me the reimbursements. Michael, this is my money. I earned it. You don't get to tell me how to spend it. I'm your husband. We're supposed to be saving for a baby. We're supposed to be partners. How much debt do you have? It's under control. How much, Jessica? I don't know exactly. You don't know? How can you not know? Because I was too afraid to look. Because I was in denial. Because facing the truth meant facing what I'd become. That fight lasted 3 days. He demanded to see all my accounts. I refused. He said we needed to go to counseling. I said he was overreacting. He said I had a problem. I said he was being controlling. I turned it around on him somehow. I made him feel guilty for questioning me. I made him feel like the bad guy for being concerned about our finances. That's what addiction does. It makes you manipulate everyone around you to protect the addiction. Things got worse. Much worse. I was shopping during work meetings. I'd have my laptop screen split. The Zoom meeting on one side, Bergdorf Goodman or Net-a-Porter on the other. I'd be nodding along to quarterly projections and revenue forecasts while adding $8,000 worth of shoes to my cart. Jessica, what do you think about the Q3 strategy? My boss would ask. Sorry, could you repeat that? I was looking at the data. I'd lie, minimizing the shopping tab. My work performance started slipping. I missed deadlines for the first time in my career. I showed up to client meetings distracted and unprepared. I'd be sitting across from a client, supposedly presenting a marketing strategy, while thinking about the Chanel bag I'd seen online and whether I should buy it in black or beige or both. My boss, Rachel, noticed. Jessica, can we talk? I'm concerned. You missed the deadline for the Johnson account, and that's not like you. Is everything okay at home? Everything's fine, Rachel. I'm just dealing with some personal stuff. It won't happen again. If you need some time off. No, I'm good. Really. I'll get back on track. But I couldn't get back on track because the shopping was consuming my life. I thought about it every minute of every day. When I wasn't shopping, I was planning my next shopping trip. When I couldn't shop, I felt anxious and irritable. When I did shop, I felt guilty and ashamed, so I'd shop more to make myself feel better. It was a vicious cycle, and I was drowning. Then I crossed a line I swore I'd never cross. I used my company credit card. It happened so easily. Too easily. I was at Neiman Marcus during lunch, and I'd maxed out all my personal cards. I saw a Saint Laurent dress I had to have. Had to. The compulsion was overwhelming. My hands were shaking. I felt like I couldn't breathe unless I bought it. I pulled out my company American Express and bought it. $2,400. I told myself I'd return it before the statement closed. I'd just wear it once, take some photos for Instagram, and send it back. No one would ever know. I never returned it. I wore it once, felt empty immediately after, and moved on to the next purchase. Over the next 2 months, I used my company card to buy $12,000 worth of designer clothes and accessories. Every time, I told myself it would be the last time. Every time, I promised myself I'd return everything. I never did. The company discovered the charges during a routine audit. I was called into HR on a Tuesday morning in September 2023. Rachel was there. The head of HR was there. The CFO was there. Jessica, we need to discuss some irregularities with your corporate credit card. My stomach dropped. I felt like I was going to vomit. They showed me printouts of the statements. Neiman Marcus, Saks, Bergdorf Goodman. Every transaction highlighted. Can you explain these charges? I tried to lie. I tried to say they were for client gifts or team-building events. But there were too many charges. Too many personal items. They'd even pulled security footage of me leaving stores with shopping bags. Jessica, this is theft. We could press charges. We could have you arrested right now. I started crying. Sobbing, really. Ugly, desperate crying. I'll pay it back. I'll pay back every penny. Please don't press charges. Please. I'll do anything. They gave me 2 options. Pay back the $12,000 within 30 days, or they'd pursue criminal charges. I left the building that day with a box of my personal items. I was fired immediately, escorted out by security like a criminal. People I'd worked with for years watched me leave. The shame was crushing. I'd lost my job, my reputation, my career. I was now $500,000 in debt. The number had climbed that high with interest and penalties. Unemployed, and I was still thinking about shopping. I should have stopped. I should have gotten help. I should have hit rock bottom and made a change. Instead, I kept shopping. I sold my car, a 2021 Audi Q5, for $38,000. I used $12,000 to pay back my former company and keep them from pressing charges. I used the rest to pay down some credit card minimums and immediately maxed those cards out again shopping. I was like a drug addict selling everything they owned for their next fix. Except my drug was shopping, and the high lasted about 5 minutes before the crushing shame set in. Michael didn't know I'd been fired. I left the house every morning like I was going to work, and I'd spend the day at coffee shops, libraries, or shopping. I'd come home at my normal time and pretend everything was fine. The lies were exhausting. Keeping track of what I'd told him versus what was real was like maintaining a second full-time job. He found out 3 weeks later when the mortgage payment bounced. The bank called him because he was on the account too. Jessica, the bank called. The mortgage payment bounced. What's going on? I couldn't lie anymore. I was so tired of lying. I lost my job. 3 weeks ago. I got fired. What? Why didn't you tell me? I was ashamed. Why were you fired? I told him everything. The company credit card. The theft. The $500,000 in debt. All of it. I watched his face go through every emotion: shock, anger, betrayal, sadness, and finally resignation. I can't do this anymore, he said quietly. I love you, Jess. I love you so much. But you need help, and you won't get it. You've been lying to me for over a year. You stole from your company. You're $500,000 in debt. And I don't think you've stopped shopping even after all of this. Have you? I couldn't answer. Because he was right. I bought a $600 dress online that morning. I'm moving out. I'll stay at my brother's place. I need space to think. You need to get help. Professional help. Therapy, rehab, I don't know. But this. He gestured around our house, at the life we'd built together. This isn't working. Michael, please. I'll stop. I promise. I'll stop tomorrow. You said that 6 months ago. And 6 months before that. You need professional help. And until you're willing to get it, I can't be here watching you destroy yourself. He packed a bag and left that night. I sat on the floor of our living room and cried for hours. You'd think that would be my rock bottom. Losing my husband, my marriage, my partner. You'd think that would be the moment I'd wake up and get help. It wasn't. The next day, I went shopping. I bought a $1,200 coat to make myself feel better about Michael leaving. Because that's what addicts do. We use our drug of choice to numb the pain caused by our drug of choice. I was alone in our 3,000 square foot house that we were now 3 months behind on the mortgage for. The foreclosure notice came 2 weeks later. I stopped answering calls from creditors. There were dozens of them calling every day. Sometimes the same company would call 5 times a day. My phone was constantly ringing. I started leaving it on silent. I let my credit score drop to 480. It had been 780 before my promotion. In 2 years, I'd destroyed my credit, my career, my marriage, and my life. I was $650,000 in debt. The number kept growing because of interest and penalties. Some of my cards were charging 29.99% APR. I was paying thousands of dollars a month in interest alone, and the principal never went down. I had to find work. I took a job as a freelance social media consultant, making $3,000 a month. My mortgage was $4,200. The math didn't work. I couldn't afford to live in that house, but I couldn't afford to move either. I should have been using every penny to pay down debt. Instead, I was still shopping. I'd wake up every morning shaking with anxiety. Look at the collection notices piled up on my desk, the foreclosure paperwork, the separation papers Michael's lawyer had sent over, and I'd feel this crushing weight of shame and despair. And you know what I'd do? I'd shop. I'd buy something to escape the feeling of having bought something. I'd use shopping to numb the pain caused by shopping. I was in hell, a hell of my own creation. And I couldn't stop. I sold my jewelry. I sold my grandmother's pearls that she'd left me when she died. I sold my engagement ring, a beautiful 1.5-carat diamond that Michael had saved for months to buy. I sold it to a jeweler for $8,000. I spent $9,500 that same day on a Valentino dress I never wore. I was living off cash advances from the few credit cards that still worked. I'd take $2,000 as a cash advance at 29% interest, use it to pay the minimum on other cards, and use whatever was left to shop. I was robbing Peter to pay Paul and using the leftover change to buy designer clothes. It was insane. I knew it was insane, but I couldn't stop. Michael came by the house a few times to pick up more of his things. Each time, he'd look at me with this mixture of sadness and pity that broke my heart. "Are you eating?" he asked once. I'd lost 15 pounds because I was spending money on clothes instead of groceries. "I'm fine." "You're not fine, Jess. Look at you. When's the last time you slept?" I couldn't remember. I'd been up until 4 a.m. every night shopping online, then waking up at 7 a.m. shaking and anxious. "You need help. Please. Let me help you find a therapist or—" "I don't need help. I just need everyone to leave me alone." He left. I went upstairs and shopped for 3 hours. My sister Lauren lived in Milwaukee. We weren't super close. She was 5 years younger than me, and we'd grown apart as adults. But she called me every few weeks to check in. "Hey, Jessie. Just calling to say hi. How are you?" "I'm good. Really busy with work, but good." "How's Michael?" "He's great." "We're great." More lies. I couldn't tell her the truth. I couldn't admit what I'd become. But Lauren is smart. She knew something was wrong. She called Michael. "Michael, what's going on with Jessica? She sounds weird on the phone, and she hasn't returned my last 3 calls." Michael told her everything. He broke down crying on the phone, telling my little sister how he'd failed to help me, how he'd had to leave for his own sanity, how he was afraid I was going to hurt myself. Lauren drove to Chicago the next day. She showed up at my house unannounced. I almost didn't answer the door, but she kept knocking. "Jessie, I know you're in there. Open the door. Please." I opened the door. She took one look at me and her face crumpled. I hadn't showered in 4 days. I was wearing the same pajamas I'd been in for 48 hours. I'd lost 20 pounds. I had dark circles under my eyes. I looked like a shell of the person I used to be. "Oh, Jessie. Oh, honey. What's happening to you?" "I'm fine, Lauren. I'm just busy with work stuff and—" Michael told me everything. About the job. About the debt. About the separation. "Jessie, you need help." "I don't need help. Everyone keeps saying that, but I'm handling it." "You're not handling anything. Have you looked at yourself? Have you looked at this house?" The house was a disaster. Packages and shopping bags everywhere. Dishes piled in the sink. Laundry covering the furniture. I'd stopped doing basic household tasks because all I did was shop. "Come on. Show me the damage." "Lauren, I don't want to." "Show me. Show me what you're dealing with. You're my sister. Let me help you." I took her upstairs to my closet. I opened the door. Lauren had seen my closet before. She knew I had a lot of clothes, but she hadn't seen it in over a year. She hadn't seen what it had become. The closet was packed. Clothes crammed so tightly you couldn't see the walls. 2 racks had collapsed from the weight. Shoes were stacked in towers reaching to the ceiling. Handbags lined every shelf, most still in their dust bags with tags attached. Jesus Christ, Jessica. I know. This is. How much is all this worth? I don't know. A lot. And you've worn? Maybe a quarter of it. Maybe less. Then I showed her the guest bedroom. It was wall-to-wall shopping bags. Hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. Most unopened. Some I'd forgotten I'd even bought. Jessie. Lauren started crying. This is really bad. This is really, really bad. I know. I know it is. But I can't stop, Lauren. I've tried. I can't stop. How much debt? About $650,000. Maybe more. I don't look anymore. My sister sat down on the floor, looking at the mountain of shopping bags, and just cried. I sat down next to her, and we cried together. That was October 2024. Things got worse before they got better. I received the eviction notice in early February 2025. I had 30 days to pay $12,600 in back mortgage payments, or the bank would foreclose and I'd be evicted. I didn't have $12,600. I barely had $1,200. It was a Tuesday morning. I remember because I was supposed to have a freelance client call at 10 a.m., but I forgot about it because I was too busy shopping online. The notice was taped to my front door. I brought it inside, opened it, read it, and just stood there. This was it. I was going to lose the house. The house Michael and I had bought together. The house we were supposed to raise our children in. Gone. I walked upstairs to my closet with that eviction notice in my hand. I just stood there, looking around at what my addiction had created. The closet looked like a department store exploded. I started pulling things out randomly. A $2,800 Gucci coat. Tag still on. I'd bought it 18 months ago and never worn it. A $1,600 pair of Christian Louboutin heels, still in the box, tissue paper perfect. 7 identical black leather jackets from different designers. All with tags. Total cost, $14,000. I counted. I actually counted everything. 47 dresses I'd never worn, ranging from $800 to $4,500 each. 63 pairs of shoes still in boxes, never worn. 22 designer handbags I'd never carried, including 3 Hermes bags worth over $35,000 total that I'd bought from a reseller. I did rough math in my head. Just what I could see in this closet was worth at least $200,000 at retail. Maybe more. And I was about to be homeless. I was $800,000 in debt. Yes, with more penalties and a personal loan I'd taken out, it had climbed that high, about to lose my house, divorced from the love of my life, estranged from my family, and I was standing in a closet full of things that were supposed to make me happy. Things that were supposed to prove I wasn't that poor kid anymore. Things that were supposed to fix the hole inside me. But they didn't fix anything. They made everything worse. I started hyperventilating. My vision got blurry. My heart was racing so fast I thought I was having a heart attack. I collapsed on the closet floor, surrounded by cashmere and silk and leather and designer labels, having a full-blown panic attack. I couldn't breathe. I was gasping for air. My hands were tingling. I thought I was dying. I managed to grab my phone and call Lauren. She answered on the first ring. Jessie. Lauren. I can't breathe. Help me. Please help me. I'm calling 911. Stay on the phone with me. No. Just. I need help. Please. I need help. What's your address? I'm getting in my car right now. I gave her the address through sobs and gasps. She lived 2 hours away in Milwaukee, but she made it in 90 minutes. She found me 2 hours later, still on the closet floor. I'd calmed down enough to breathe, but I was just sitting there, surrounded by thousands of items, holding that eviction notice, completely broken. Lauren walked into the closet and just stopped. She'd seen it before, but something about seeing me on the floor, broken and defeated, surrounded by all this stuff, made it real for her. Oh, Jessie, she said, tears streaming down her face. What happened to you? What happened to my brilliant, successful sister? I think I'm addicted to shopping, I whispered. It was the first time I'd said those words out loud. The first time I'd admitted the truth to anyone, including myself. I think you're right, she said gently, sitting down next to me on the floor. And I think you need help right now. Today. This minute. I don't know how to stop. I've tried. I can't stop. You can't stop alone. But you don't have to be alone. I'm here. I'm not leaving. Lauren called out of work for the rest of the week. She moved into my guest room that afternoon, after we cleared out the hundreds of shopping bags to make space for her. She took control. She had to. I was incapable of making decisions at that point. Okay, first thing. Do you have your credit cards? I had 23 credit cards. 23. Some were maxed out. Some still had available credit. Lauren collected every single one from my wallet, my purse, my desk drawers, my car, the hidden spots around the house. She lined them up on the kitchen table. 23 pieces of plastic that had destroyed my life. We're cutting these up. All of them. Lauren, I might need them for emergencies. Shopping is not an emergency. Cutting these up is the emergency. We're doing this right now. She grabbed scissors and started cutting. I started crying. I can't. What if I need to buy something? Then you'll use cash or your debit card. No more credit. You can't be trusted with credit right now. She cut up every single card while I cried. It felt like watching someone kill a part of me. Which sounds insane, I know. But that's how sick I was. Losing access to credit cards felt like losing a limb. Next, she made me call a therapist. She'd researched therapists who specialized in behavioral addictions and found Dr. Alicia Martinez, who had her practice in downtown Chicago. Call her right now. Make an appointment for tomorrow. I can't afford therapy. I can't afford anything. Does she take insurance? I checked. She did. I called and made an appointment for the next day at 2 p.m. That night, Lauren made me shower, eat a real meal, and sleep in a clean bedroom. She took care of me like I was a child. Because in many ways I was. My addiction had reduced me to a helpless, impulsive child who couldn't take care of herself. The next day, I sat in Dr. Martinez's office, a small room with soft lighting and comfortable chairs. She was in her 50s, with kind eyes and a calm presence that immediately made me feel less judged. Jessica, tell me what brings you here today. I told her everything. I talked for 90 minutes straight. Childhood poverty, the promotion, the first purchase, the escalation, the lies, the theft, the debt, the divorce, the eviction notice, the panic attack in my closet. Dr. Martinez listened without interrupting, taking notes occasionally, nodding with understanding. When I finished, she said, Jessica, you have a condition called compulsive buying disorder. It's a real addiction, as serious as drug or alcohol addiction. Shopping gives you a dopamine hit, just like any other addictive substance. Your brain has been hijacked by this behavior. So I'm not just weak. I'm not just stupid with money. You're not weak. You're not stupid. You're sick. And you can get better. But it's going to take work. Real, hard work. She explained how shopping addiction works. How it often stems from childhood trauma or feelings of inadequacy. How the act of purchasing gives a temporary high that masks deeper emotional pain. How the shame and guilt from the addiction create more pain, which drives more addictive behavior. It's a cycle that feeds itself. The good news is that this is treatable. The bad news is that you have to want to get better, and you have to be willing to do the work. I want to get better. I'm so tired. I'm so tired of lying and hiding and feeling ashamed. I just want my life back. Then we'll work together. I want to see you 3 times a week initially. We need to address the underlying trauma, develop coping mechanisms, and create a support system. I'm also going to recommend you attend Debtors Anonymous meetings. Debtors Anonymous? Like AA but for debt? Yes. It's a 12-step program for people with compulsive debting and spending issues. You need community. You need to be around people who understand what you're going through. She gave me a meeting schedule. There was a meeting that very evening at a church on the north side of Chicago. Lauren drove me there. I was terrified. I didn't want to walk into a room full of strangers and admit I was a shopping addict. It felt humiliating. But I walked in. The meeting was in a church basement with fluorescent lights and metal folding chairs arranged in a circle. There were 17 people there, ranging in age from early 20s to maybe 70. A woman named Patricia was leading the meeting. She was in her 60s, dressed simply, with a warm smile. "Welcome, everyone. Is anyone here for their first time?" I raised my hand, trembling. 2 other people raised their hands too. "Welcome. We're glad you're here. Would any of our newcomers like to introduce themselves?" I almost got up and left. I almost ran out of that church basement and never came back. But something made me stay. Maybe desperation. Maybe hope. Maybe just exhaustion from carrying this secret alone for so long. "My name is Jessica," I said, my voice shaking. "And I'm a compulsive buyer. I'm $800,000 in debt from a shopping addiction, and I haven't gone a day without buying something unnecessary in 3 years." The room responded in unison. "Welcome, Jessica." No one looked shocked. No one judged me. They just welcomed me. Patricia smiled at me. "Jessica, thank you for sharing. That took courage. We've all been where you are. We understand." Then people started sharing their stories. A lawyer named David who'd bought $400,000 worth of luxury watches and nearly lost his law practice. A teacher named Michelle who'd maxed out 32 credit cards buying clothes and home decor. A young guy named Tyler, probably 25, who'd spent his student loans on sneakers and streetwear. I wasn't alone. I wasn't the only one. I wasn't a uniquely terrible person. I cried through that entire meeting. When it ended, several people came up to me and gave me their phone numbers. "Call me if you need to talk," Patricia said. "Anytime, day or night. When you get the urge to shop, call me instead." "Why would you do that? You don't even know me." "Because someone did it for me when I was where you are. I was $300,000 in debt from shopping. That was 12 years ago. I've been in recovery ever since. If I can do it, you can do it." That gave me hope for the first time in years. Real hope. Not the fake hope of maybe this purchase will fix me, but actual hope that recovery was possible. Lauren and I drove home in silence. When we got back to the house, she hugged me. "I'm proud of you, Jessie. That took guts. I'm scared. I know. But you're not doing this alone. I'm here. That whole room of people is there for you. Dr. Martinez is there for you. We're going to get through this." The first week without shopping was the hardest thing I've ever done. Harder than losing my job. Harder than my marriage falling apart. Harder than anything. I was physically shaking. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. with my heart racing, desperately wanting to buy something, anything. I'd pace the house. I'd cry. I'd call Lauren or Patricia or someone from my DA meeting. "Just get through the next hour," they'd tell me. "Just 1 hour at a time. You can do anything for 1 hour." So that's what I did. I survived 1 hour at a time. Dr. Martinez and I met 3 times that first week. We started digging into the why. Why shopping? Why now? Why did it get so bad? We talked about my childhood. Really talked about it. About being the poor kid. About the shame I carried. About watching my parents fight about money and vowing I'd never be in that position. "Jessica, you're trying to buy your way out of a painful childhood. You're trying to prove to that little girl who wore Goodwill clothes that she matters now. But things can't heal emotional wounds. You're trying to fix an internal problem with an external solution, and it doesn't work. So what do? You learn to sit with uncomfortable feelings instead of shopping them away. You learn that you have value regardless of what you own. You heal the childhood trauma so you don't need to keep proving yourself." It sounded simple. It wasn't. Every trigger made me want to shop. I felt stressed. I wanted to shop. I felt bored. I wanted to shop. I felt happy. I wanted to celebrate by shopping. I felt sad. I wanted to comfort myself by shopping. Everything made me want to shop because shopping had become my coping mechanism for every emotion. I had to learn new coping mechanisms. When I felt the urge to shop, I'd call my sponsor Patricia, go to a DA meeting, journal about what I was really feeling, go for a walk, do anything except shop. Dr. Martinez taught me to pause and ask myself, what am I really feeling right now? What am I trying to avoid? Usually, I was feeling inadequate, unworthy, like that poor kid again. And shopping was my way of running from those feelings. I had to learn to sit with those feelings instead. to acknowledge them without trying to fix them with a purchase, to understand that feeling bad is temporary, but debt is long-lasting. It was excruciating. Sitting with discomfort without numbing it felt impossible at first. But slowly, very slowly, it got easier. Lauren stayed with me for 3 weeks. She helped me start dealing with the practical realities of my situation. First, we had to assess the damage. I made myself sit down and look at every credit card statement, every collection notice, every piece of debt. The total was $837,000. $837,000. $423,000 in credit card debt across 23 cards. $180,000 in personal loans I'd taken out. $89,000 owed to the IRS for unpaid taxes. I'd spent my tax money shopping. $95,000 still owed on the mortgage. $50,000 in other miscellaneous debts. I felt sick looking at those numbers. How had I destroyed my life so completely? Okay, Lauren said, ever practical. We need a plan. You can't pay this all back immediately, but you can start making progress. First step, we need to sell everything you bought. So we started selling. I spent 3 months selling my designer clothes, shoes, and handbags on consignment sites like The RealReal, Vestiaire Collective, and Rebag. I sold items on Poshmark and Depop. I contacted luxury resellers. Do you know how depressing it is to sell a $3,200 coat for $800? To sell a $4,000 handbag for $1,200? I lost so much money. Designer items depreciate the moment you buy them, especially if they're not classic, in-demand pieces. But I sold everything I could. I went through that closet and those storage units and sold anything I'd never worn or barely worn. I made $94,000 total. After consignment fees, I netted about $82,000. It felt like nothing against $837,000 in debt. But it was a start. I used that money to pay off some of the highest interest credit cards and make payments on the IRS debt. I closed the storage units, which saved me $600 a month. I had to find real work. My freelance consulting was barely covering my bills. I applied to 47 marketing jobs. Most didn't even call me back. Some asked why I'd left my previous position. I had to tell them I was fired for theft. That killed my chances every time. Finally, a small boutique marketing firm called me for an interview. It was run by a woman named Sarah who'd started her own business after being laid off in her 50s. She knew about second chances. I was honest with her. I told her I'd been fired. I told her about my shopping addiction and my recovery. I told her I was in therapy and going to DA meetings. I'm in AA, Sarah said. 18 years sober. I know how hard recovery is, and I know how much courage it takes to admit you have a problem and get help. The job pays $65,000, which I know is a pay cut from what you were making. But I'm willing to give you a chance if you're willing to work hard and stay in recovery. I almost cried right there in the interview. Yes. Thank you. I won't let you down. I started the job in April 2024. I also got a second job teaching social media marketing classes at a community college 2 nights a week for $1,500 a month. I was working 70 hours a week between both jobs. Every penny I earned went toward debt repayment except what I needed for basic living. I had to move out of my house. The foreclosure went through, and I lost the house in May. Michael and I had $45,000 in equity, but it all went to paying off the remaining mortgage and foreclosure fees. I moved into a studio apartment in a not great neighborhood for $900 a month. It was 450 square feet. The building was old. The neighbors were loud. But it was mine, and it was affordable. I sold all my furniture except a bed, a small table, and 2 chairs. I sold my couch, my dining room set, my expensive artwork, everything. Made another $8,000. I was living like a college student at age 33. Sleeping on a mattress on the floor because I'd sold my bed frame. Eating ramen and rice because I was putting every extra dollar toward debt. But I wasn't shopping. That was the important thing. I wasn't shopping. Michael reached out in June. We met for coffee at a Starbucks near his brother's apartment where he was staying. He looked good. Rested. Healthier than he'd looked in years. Leaving me had been good for him, and that hurt to admit. How are you? He asked. I'm better. I'm in therapy 3 times a week. I'm going to DA meetings. I haven't shopped in 4 months. I'm working 2 jobs to pay back the debt. I lost the house. I'm living in a studio apartment. But I'm sober from shopping. I'm proud of you, Jess. I mean that. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for everything. For lying to you. For destroying our marriage. For putting you through hell. I know you are. Do you think? I couldn't finish the sentence. Do you think we have a chance? Do you think you could ever forgive me? I think you need to focus on your recovery right now, he said gently. And I need time. I'm not saying never. But I'm not saying yes either. Let's just see how things go. It wasn't a no. That was enough. We started meeting for coffee every few weeks. Just talking. Catching up. I showed him my bank statements to prove I wasn't shopping. I showed him my therapy schedule and DA meeting attendance. I was completely transparent because I'd learned that secrets keep you sick. Michael started coming to some of my therapy sessions. Dr. Martinez helped us talk through the damage my addiction had caused our marriage. The lies. The betrayal. The broken trust. Trust takes years to build and seconds to destroy, Dr. Martinez said. Jessica, you destroyed Michael's trust. It's going to take consistent action over a long period of time to rebuild it. You can't rush this. So I didn't rush it. I just showed up. I stayed sober from shopping. I worked my 2 jobs. I went to therapy. I went to my meetings. I paid my bills and put every extra dollar toward debt. After 6 months of this, 6 months of consistent sobriety, consistent transparency, consistent effort, Michael asked if I wanted to get dinner. A real dinner. At a restaurant. Like a date. I'd like that, I said. We went to a casual Italian place. Nothing fancy. He ordered pasta. I ordered salad because I was trying to save money. You can order more than salad, Jess. I know, but I'm watching my budget. Every dollar counts. He smiled. You've really changed. I'm trying. Every day I'm trying. I can see that. I've been talking to my therapist about us, about whether I could trust you again. And I think I want to try. If you want to try. I started crying right there at the table. Yes, I want to try. I miss you. I miss us. I miss us too. But I need you to promise me something. Promise me you'll keep going to therapy and your meetings. Promise me you'll stay transparent with me about money. Promise me you'll tell me if you're struggling. I promise. I absolutely promise. We started dating again. It felt strange dating my own husband, but also right. We were rebuilding from scratch. But recovery isn't linear. I had setbacks. I had hard moments. 7 months into my recovery, in August, I had my first real close call with relapse. I was walking through the mall. Stupid, I know, I shouldn't have been there. Looking for a birthday card for Lauren. I passed by Nordstrom. And I stopped. I could see the displays in the window. Beautiful clothes. Expensive clothes. Clothes that would make me feel powerful and successful and worthy. I felt the pull. That familiar pull. My heart started racing. My palms got sweaty. I wanted to go inside so badly. I stood there for maybe 10 minutes, just staring at that store entrance. I could feel the dopamine anticipation. My brain was screaming at me to go inside. Just look, it said. You don't have to buy anything. Just look. But I knew that was a lie. If I went inside, I'd buy something. Even without credit cards, I had a debit card. I had $1,200 in my checking account for bills and groceries. I could spend $500 and tell myself I deserved it. I called Patricia. My hands were shaking as I dialed. Patricia, I'm at the mall and I'm standing outside Nordstrom and I want to go in so badly I can't breathe. Walk away right now. Turn around and walk the other direction. Don't think. Just move. But, Jessica, walk away. Right now. You've got 7 months of sobriety. Don't throw it away. Walk away and go to a meeting. There's one starting at the church in 40 minutes. I'll meet you there. I turned around and walked away. It felt like walking through cement. Every step was hard. But I did it. I went to that meeting. I shared about what had happened. About the pull I'd felt. About how close I'd come. That's normal, Patricia said after the meeting. Recovery isn't a straight line. You're going to have urges. You're going to have hard days. What matters is what you do with those urges. You called me. You walked away. You came to a meeting. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. It scared me how much I wanted to go in that store. Of course it did. You're an addict. Shopping is your drug. The cravings don't just disappear, but they get easier to manage over time. The urges get less frequent and less intense. You just have to keep doing the work. I kept doing the work. I white-knuckled it through the hard days. I celebrated the good days. I counted my days of sobriety like they were precious, because they were. By December 2024, I'd been in recovery for 10 months. Michael and I were seriously dating again. He came to some of my DA meetings to understand my addiction better. He read books about behavioral addictions. He was trying to understand. On Christmas Eve, he took me to dinner at a nice restaurant. Not super expensive, but nicer than our usual spots. I've been thinking, he said over dessert. About us. About where we go from here. My heart sank. This was it. He was going to tell me we couldn't make it work. That the damage was too deep. I want to try again. Really try. I want us to move in together again. Start over. Are you serious? I'm serious. You've done the work, Jess. You've shown me you're committed to recovery. You've been transparent. You've rebuilt trust. I believe in us again. I cried. Happy tears this time. I want that too. More than anything. But we need ground rules. You stay in therapy. You keep going to meetings. We have joint bank accounts. No secrets about money. And if you relapse, we deal with it together. No hiding, no shame, just honesty and getting back on track. I agree with all of that. We moved in together in February 2025. Not to a house, we couldn't afford that, but to a nice 2-bedroom apartment. We furnished it with inexpensive furniture from IKEA. We cooked at home. We lived simply. And it felt good. It felt right. I realized I didn't need designer clothes or expensive handbags or a fancy house to be happy. I just needed a healthy relationship, meaningful work, and recovery. In March 2025, we decided to get remarried. Just a small ceremony at City Hall with Lauren and Michael's brother as witnesses. I wore a simple white dress I bought from Target for $40. Michael wore a suit he already owned. You look beautiful, he said when he saw me. It's a $40 dress from Target. You look beautiful because you're healthy and present and here with me. That has nothing to do with the dress. We said our vows again. Different vows this time. More honest vows. I promise to stay in recovery, I said. I promise to be honest with you always. I promise to love you and respect you and never let my addiction come between us again. I promise to support you in your recovery, Michael said. I promise to be patient and understanding. I promise to love you through the hard days and celebrate the good days. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. It was better. It was real. My recovery continued. I had my moments. Days when I wanted to shop so badly I could think of nothing else. Days when I walked past stores and felt that pull. Days when I saw people with designer handbags and felt envy and inadequacy. But I didn't shop. I called my sponsor. I went to meetings. I talked to Dr. Martinez. I used the tools I'd learned. 18 months into recovery, Dr. Martinez reduced our sessions to once a week. You're doing really well, Jessica. You've built a solid foundation. You've developed healthy coping mechanisms. You're ready for this. I was terrified to reduce therapy. What if I needed that support and it wasn't there? You have an entire support system now, she reminded me. You have Michael. You have Lauren. You have Patricia and your DA community. You have the tools. You can do this. She was right. I could do this. I'm now 20 months into my recovery. That's 614 days without making an unnecessary purchase. 614 days of waking up and choosing recovery. I still have $400,000 in debt. At my current rate, paying about $3,500 a month toward debt, it'll take me another 7 to 8 years to pay it all off. 7 to 8 years of working hard, living frugally, saying no to extras. But I'm making progress. The balance goes down every month. I've paid off 8 of the original 23 credit cards completely. The IRS debt is almost gone. I'm chipping away at it. My credit score has climbed from 480 to 620. Still not great, but improving. In a few more years, it might be good again. I make $95,000 a year now at the marketing firm. Sarah promoted me to senior account manager 6 months ago. I'm good at my job when my addiction isn't running my life. I still teach the community college classes too, which adds another $18,000 a year. Michael and I are doing well. Really well. We're talking about buying a small house in a few years when my credit is better and we've saved up for a down payment. Maybe starting a family after that. Last week, something happened that showed me how far I've come. I was walking downtown, heading to meet Lauren for lunch. I passed a Nordstrom, the same store where I bought that first $3,200 Burberry coat. The store where my addiction really took hold. I stopped and looked in the window. There was a beautiful coat on display. Camel-colored, classic cut, probably designer. The old Jessica would have gone inside immediately. The old Jessica would have found a way to buy it, even without a credit card. The new Jessica looked at it, acknowledged it was beautiful, and kept walking. That might not sound like much, but it's everything to me. It's proof that recovery works. It's proof that I'm not that person anymore. I still go to DA meetings twice a week. I still see Dr. Martinez weekly. I still have hard days where I want to buy something just to feel that rush again, that temporary high, that fleeting sense of worth. But I know now that buying things doesn't make me worthy. I was always worthy. I just couldn't see it under all the shame and pain from my childhood. I'm worthy of wearing a $40 Target dress. I'm worthy of living in a modest apartment. I'm worthy of a damaged credit score and hundreds of thousands in debt. My worth has nothing to do with what I own. That's the lesson it took me $837,000 to learn. And I'm still paying for that lesson every single month. Here's what I want you to know if you're struggling with shopping addiction or any kind of compulsive spending. First, it's real. Shopping addiction is a real addiction. It's not a joke. It's not just liking nice things or being bad with money or being materialistic. It's an actual behavioral addiction that hijacks your brain the same way drugs or alcohol do. The shame kept me sick for years. I thought I was the only one. I thought I was weak or stupid or broken. I was terrified to tell anyone because I thought they'd judge me. Who admits they're addicted to shopping? It sounds so stupid compared to real addictions. But it is real. It destroyed my career, my marriage, my finances, nearly my life. It's as serious as any other addiction. Second, you can't recover alone. I tried for over a year to stop on my own. I'd promise myself I wouldn't shop, then I'd shop the next day. I'd swear I'd only buy one thing, then I'd buy 10. I couldn't stop alone because addiction is stronger than willpower. You need help. Professional help. A therapist who specializes in behavioral addictions. A support group like Debtors Anonymous. People who understand what you're going through. Third, recovery is possible, but it's not easy. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. Harder than college. Harder than building my career. Harder than anything. You'll have urges. You'll have hard days. You'll have moments where you want your drug of choice so badly you can't think straight. That's normal. That's an addiction. What matters is what you do with those urges. Do you give in, or do you call your sponsor? Do you walk into the store, or do you walk away? Do you stay silent in your shame, or do you reach out for help? Fourth, address the underlying issues. Shopping was a symptom, not the problem. The problem was childhood trauma and feelings of unworthiness that I never dealt with. I was trying to buy my way out of emotional pain, and it doesn't work that way. You have to dig into the why. Why do you shop? What are you really trying to fix? What are you trying to prove? Until you address the root cause, you'll always be vulnerable to relapse. Fifth, be patient with yourself. Recovery isn't linear. You'll have setbacks. You might relapse. That doesn't mean you failed. It means you're human and addiction is powerful. What matters is getting back on track. Going back to meetings. Being honest about what happened. Learning from it and moving forward. I had several close calls in my recovery. At times I almost shopped. Times I wanted so badly I could barely function. But I didn't, because I reached out for help and used the tools I'd learned. If you do relapse, don't let shame keep you sick. Tell someone. Get back to meetings. Talk to your therapist. The shame and secrecy will kill you faster than the addiction. Sixth, practical advice. Delete all shopping apps from your phone. Every single one. Unsubscribe from marketing emails. They're designed to trigger your addiction. Cut up your credit cards. All of them. You can't be trusted with credit right now. That sounds harsh, but it's true. I couldn't be trusted. And if you're reading this because you relate to my story, you probably can't be trusted either. Avoid malls and shopping areas. Don't walk through Target just to look around. Don't browse online stores for fun. That's like an alcoholic hanging out in bars. You're putting yourself in triggering situations. Find new coping mechanisms. Shopping was how I dealt with every emotion. I had to learn new ways to cope. Exercise, journaling, calling friends, going to meetings, therapy, anything except shopping. Be transparent about money. No secret accounts. No hidden purchases. Total transparency with your partner or family. The secrets keep you sick. Celebrate your progress. Count your days of sobriety. Celebrate milestones. Be proud of yourself for every day you don't shop, because every day is a victory. If you're hiding purchases from loved ones, if you're shopping to cope with emotions, if you're in debt and can't stop spending, if you're lying about how much you spend, please get help. Please don't wait until you're $800,000 in debt and you've lost everything like I did. Please don't wait until you're having panic attacks on your closet floor surrounded by things you've never used. Please don't wait until your marriage falls apart and you lose your career and you're facing eviction. Get help now. Today. Right now. There are resources available. Debtors Anonymous has meetings all over the country and online. Go to debtorsanonymous.org to find meetings near you. It saved my life. Find a therapist who specializes in behavioral addictions or compulsive buying disorder. Not every therapist understands this addiction, so find one who does. Tell someone you trust what's really going on. A family member, a friend, someone who can support you. You can't recover in isolation. If you're in a financial crisis, call the SAMHSA National Helpline at 1-800-662-4357. They can connect you with resources and support for behavioral addictions. If you're in an emotional crisis and thinking about harming yourself, and I've been there, I understand that despair. Text HOME to 741741 for the crisis text line. Someone will be there for you immediately. Recovery is possible. It's hard, and it's not quick, and there are days I still want to go back to who I was when shopping made me feel powerful and worthy and successful. But that power was fake. That was artificial. That success was built on a foundation of lies and debt. The power I have now, being honest, being sober from shopping, rebuilding my life, repairing my relationships, that's real. That lasts. That matters. I'm not rich. I'm still deep in debt. I'm still working 2 jobs and living modestly and saying no to things I want. But I'm free. Free from the shame. Free from the lying. Free from the desperate need to buy things to feel okay about myself. I'm Jessica. I'm 34 years old. I'm a recovering shopping addict. I destroyed my life with $837,000 in debt, and I'm rebuilding it one day at a time. If I can do this, you can do this. I promise you, recovery is possible. If you found this story helpful, please like and subscribe. Share it with someone who might need to hear it. And please leave a comment telling me where you're watching from or sharing your own story. The comments on these videos have become a community of people supporting each other through recovery, and that community saves lives. You don't have to do this alone. Help is available. Recovery is possible. Your life can get better. I'm proof of that. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. Thank you for caring enough to watch this whole video. If you're struggling, please get help. If you're in recovery, keep going. You're not alone. My name is Jessica Chin. I'm a shopping addict in recovery. And if I can get through this, so can you.